Hi everyone, I'm back. Today I'm going to be ranking the 9 movies that Edgar Wright has directed. This was actually one of my first video ideas, and when I started looking into it, I realized he had one coming out pretty soon, which was The Running Man that came out just last weekend. So I decided to wait a little bit and give myself some more time to watch and rewatch his movies instead of just rushing through it. The first few, like at the bottom, I'm going to give a little description and then a few notable scenes and style stuff that stood out to me so I can spend more time talking about my favorites. I do want to preface this by saying I don't think any of these movies are bad. These are all, I enjoyed every single one of them. They are just all different, and some are more for me than others. That being said, coming in at number 9 is going to be Sparks Brothers 2021. This is a documentary about the Sparks Brothers, a band, the Sparks, who persevered through flopping a lot and experimented through different styles, made up of Ron and Russell Mael. These two have a really funny sense of humor and don't take themselves seriously. There's like these paper doll like reenactments of things that happened, like whenever it shows through them getting signed and kind of what they went through and stuff along the way, straight up like cartoon drawn parts. And I can't say I loved any of the music or anything, but the film was shot, edited well. That's more what I'm looking for in a documentary, because it's not a plot. It's how information was delivered to me is more what I'm looking for. It's not my thing, but it was an engaging delivery of this information. Coming in at number 8 is Fistful of Fingers in 1995. This one I was actually only able to find for free on YouTube. It's his first film, and he made it when he was 20, so it does have like a student film feel to it. But his style, which obviously isn't going to be fully developed or anything when you are on your first movie, it still comes through in this. I can still see little notes of things that I see in his movies now, and it was really cool to see. But it was like, you know, the early young version of his humor. And I remember the Wanted poster made me laugh. And then he was saying none shall pass. And then there's some nuns walking by. The jokes are definitely on brand for what we see later, especially in like the Cornetto trilogy. And this is fine for what it is. I probably wouldn't watch it again. I only looked for it because I was doing this ranking. Otherwise, I would never have even known this thing existed. It's a Western, so that's not for me. And then it was an hour and 15 minutes, and I felt like I was watching it for a long time. There are movies this year that I've watched that were harder to get through than this one, and that didn't have like the homemade feel. So there's fun to be had. There's neat stuff seeing his style shine through. Coming in at number 7, I have The World's End 2013. This is the 3rd movie in the Cornetto trilogy. The Cornetto trilogy is like an unofficial trilogy. They're not the same characters or anything. It's just a through line of themes, kind of, and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are like the leads in all of them. So this movie follows a group of friends trying to top an iconic pub crawl that they did 20 years ago, and shit gets weird. I'll talk more on this like a few times probably, but all 3 of the movies in this little trilogy have made me make sure that I haven't accidentally sped up my replay on this. And it does a really, really good job of introducing you to characters and catching you up to speed really, really fast. It doesn't like spend a whole lot of time building up. It just, here are your people, here's where they're at, story. Also, one thing about this trilogy is it always ends in the pub. Our main character is very chaotic, and it's fun and dreadful to watch because he's making them keep going to these bars and getting more drunk, and it won't let them stop and all this stuff. And you're just kind of waiting for something to go horribly wrong with this guy. And then they're at, I don't even remember which pub. I don't remember what number it was in their run, but one of them goes to the bathroom, and there's like a kid that is a robot and starts exploding like blue fluid. Yeah, I didn't know where this movie was going at all, but this definitely wasn't it. The transitions here are still great, the walking scene specifically, and then one scene I noted in here was the big fight scene at the Beehive pub was really good. I don't really like sci-fi stuff, and that's where this movie took it. There's other movies in here that I don't really like the genre or whatever of movie that they're showing me, but there's enough in there cinematically to distract from that, but there wasn't enough of that here, but I still really liked it. And then I had some pretty good laughs in this one. I didn't realize how much, but I watched this one on my laptop in my little corner in my room, and my husband later told me I was laughing quite a bit. So I enjoyed this movie, just not as much as the others. I will say I was more interested in the friend dynamic of these guys who clearly knew each other from a long time ago coming back and trying to do this thing. And one of them is married and everything. One of them is stuck in high school, you know. I was more intrigued by all of that than once the turn started of some of these people have been swapped out for robot versions of them. I did enjoy this movie, just not as much as the ones coming up. At number 6, we have The Running Man 2025. This is a dystopian set in near future, follows a blacklisted worker trying to make money to care for his sick daughter. He enters a reality TV show where contestants are hunted by assassins. If you survive for 30 days, you get $1 billion, and the general public can help record and report sightings and are told that these contestants are dangerous. Everyone's after you, and they get money if they help catch you. I don't have as many notes on this one because it is pretty, it's new. I will say that this movie made me rethink certain things further up on this list, because I kind of realized after watching this that he shines the most when it is a movie he wrote that he's directing, not an adaptation of things. It's like you can have ideas of what you want to be happening while you're shooting this, but there's certain things that have to happen. One of my main notes was that the opening credits song and title card scene, this is where we can tell who this is. And that's one of the few times. The standout scenes here are the transition of the elevator closing and then the watermelon blowing up, like it was his head. That was really cool. Scene with him in front of the promo screen right whenever they release them, kind of. And it's showing him in his disguise, and he's standing in front of his promo screen. He's turning his head the same way as that's nice. The motel scene explosion and the build up to that was pretty cool. He finds this kid and who is trying to help keep him safe, and he has this brother that has this Rules of the Running Man DVD or tape, and it's funny. Michael Cera shows up and he gets to have some fun. He gets to have some fun in this movie. He has his house rigged up with explosive Kevin McAllister stuff, and there were definitely some confusing parts in this, and I get that it was on purpose because they are warping reality, but it still took away from me them finding out his name and finding him in the hotel, but then he wakes up and nobody's there. I don't really love that kind of stuff because it just confuses me. I like this one enough. It didn't have his style just all over the place. Coming in at number 5 is Shaun of the Dead 2004. This movie is immediately funny. Again, these movies are really good at throwing us into where these characters are at right now. You just they've been here and they're just okay, here's how their day is going. Have fun. And I love that. You can quickly tell that Ed is a really bad roommate and bumming off of them. The strain that it puts on Shaun and his girlfriend's relationship and the tension in this. So the transitions still hit pretty good here. I love all the zombie hints thrown in at the beginning before there's even the apocalypse is starting. He says you're dead. His walk in the morning looks all sluggish and zombie. The way everybody on the bus whenever he's on his way to work are all just looking real sluggish and sick. I like the friendship between him and Ed, even though Ed is a bad friend. It plays off believable and everything. Oh, I did watch this one after Hot Fuzz and then realized this was actually supposed to be the first one. So some of the jokes that are like through lines, I was picking up on them, but I was like, oh, they said the thing when that should have been the other way around. The shortcut joke that's in all of these, I love it. And then, do you want anything from the shop? I love whenever he's flipping through the channels and he is skipping over the news channels that are talking about the zombie thing going on. But it's like the lines in just like the shows he's watching is still telling us about the zombie thing. It's pretty funny. Zombies are my least favorite horror monster, so I was really relying on humor and the direction here. And I did really like it. And I love whenever lines pay off. The scene, oh my God, okay. The scene in the pub where the Queen song is playing, I'm pretty sure it's Can't Stop Me Now. And they are beating up the zombies with the pool bats and like they're flipping the breakers and stuff. And it's all to the beats of the music. I was laughing so hard like that whole time. It was so great. They're like fighting and he's like, why is Queen playing? I like that at the end, his girlfriend is able to accept the boringness of their lives she was having a problem with at the beginning. I like this movie. It had great sequences. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not even gonna lie. The whole time I was watching this, I was pretty sure it was gonna be about a 3. And then we had the pool bat scene with the Queen playing, and 4. These top 4, I'm going to go a bit more in depth. These are some of my favorite movies in general, and it's hard not to gush at them when given the opportunity. This will be a little less organized, probably, because I get excited. So, number 4 is going to be Last Night in Soho 2021. This one is really hard to talk about without spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, you've been warned, skip ahead, I don't care. A young, aspiring fashion designer, Eloise, gets accepted to go to London to study fashion. There's student housing, but these girls are like really mean, and she's way more to herself than all of these other ones. And it makes her uncomfortable pretty quickly. And then we find out her mom lost her battle with depression, and she overhears her roommate tell her friends that she bets that she doesn't make it until Christmas. So she's very just like, I need to get out of here. Finds a room to rent somewhere else owned by an old lady. Her name is Miss Collins. And on the first night, she dreams of old London and sees herself in the mirror as Sandy, because she sees a mirror and it's like her looking, it's so well done. She's like walking down the stairs and there's like just a wall of mirrors and it's just following her like that. There's this scene where she's dancing with Jack. It seems like he's one of the guys who like helps get girls booked to sing and dance in these places. He asks if she can dance and he goes on the floor with her and it's like them dancing and it keeps switching out like Sandy, Eloise, and it's so seamless and it looks so great. Every time she falls asleep here, she has her dream as Sandy in the 60s. And she starts like, she dyes her hair to look like her. She starts dressing more like her. And she goes to the pub for a job and orders the same drink as her. And this man takes note of that, leading us to believe that this is like Jack in the dreams. And then these dreams start getting dark pretty quick, where she starts seeing like the really ugly parts of London in the 60s, of being a showgirl and, getting pushed to sleep with higher ups to work her way up. And Eloise has a guy over and has a vision of Sandy getting stabbed repeatedly and taken advantage of by lots of men. And she believes that the old man killed Sandy, the old man that she keeps seeing like in the pub and stuff. She goes to the library to research murders in the 60s and she doesn't see Sandy, but she sees a lot of men murdered. She goes and tells the old lady that she wants to leave because this is getting too much for her. And the old lady drugged her tea because she is Sandy. And she killed these men in the room that Eloise is now living in. She manages to get up kind of, but she falls over because she's drugged. and like a fire starts, and Sandy ends up telling Eloise that she didn't want any of this, and she isn't going to prison. She lets herself burn in the apartment. So yeah, there's the twist of Sandy wasn't dead. It was the old lady she was living with. I will say that I'm pretty good about not trying to think ahead of movies and just accepting things and getting surprised by things. I don't know if that makes sense. But watching it again for this, I was like, oh, this is pretty, like, it's in the same room. If she's seeing Sandy bring men back to this room, you know. Okay, so as far as like direction and stuff goes, he's still just nailing these transitions. I love the effect of her room where there's a neon sign outside that is like blinking red and blue, and it's illuminating her entire room. And it makes a really, really smooth gateway into the dreams that she's having. It doesn't, you're like, oh, you're seeing the red and blue of this, and now you're seeing the red and blue neons of old London. And it's really well done. The way music is used in this movie is really good, and we'll see more of that. The hallway dream scene with her going through the showgirls' like dressing rooms and stuff, and there's echoing of Jack's voice as she sees all the gross, gritty, nasty parts of these girls' lives. It's really good and eerie, the way his voice is just like booming over everything. The montage of her drinking with all the different men is also really good as it progressively gets shakier, cam, and blurry as she's getting more drunk. Oh, there's a really cool scene in this also, in the night where she's like seeing her life play out, Sandy's life and how everything went. And there's this part, and she's in her room, and there's a mirror like on this side of her bed. And there's like these different men, and their faces are blanked out. But every time the light flashes, she's in like a different outfit and she's about to kill a man. I never noticed that before, that she's in the outfit that she was wearing when she met this guy and killed him, and this guy and killed, like night after night, you know. I never noticed it before, and I was like, oh my god, that is like so good and creative. Okay, I am gonna go on a little side tangent here. If you're not interested in me explaining how I got my top 3, just skip ahead a bit. When I started watching movies for this, I had only seen 3 of them already and was quite sure I knew what my number 1 would be because it was my favorite movie. And I told myself before I started this, okay, we need to make sure that we're leaving room, giving everything else a fair chance to make its way in here. Upon going to see The Running Man last weekend, I still needed to rewatch 2 of them. And I was pretty confident in where I was putting everything. I just needed to take notes on why my top 2 were my top 2. Then I rewatched them. What I thought was gonna be my number 1 is my number 3. So coming in at number 3 is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, 2010. From the jump, Scott Pilgrim is dating a high schooler, which I don't love, by the way, but it makes me feel a little bit better that they haven't even kissed yet. He finds Ramona flowers and falls for her and has to defeat her 7 evil exes to continue to date her. They all come for him one by one, and it's got this video game, comic book style all over the whole thing. There's also like this other side thing of he's in a band and they're like competing in a battle of the bands. There's this comic book shooting of this, and like this is based off of a comic book. Every shot is really tight, especially the phone conversation scenes. However, Scott is a jerk, and I do think that having Michael Cera in here is important to keep Scott palatable and not just annoying and a jerk. The first 10 minutes of this especially is hard to keep up with because it's like something's going on and something else is going on, and it's like a quick transition to, which, I mean, the transitions are really cool, but if you haven't seen it before, it's really confusing, and it stays going like that until about the 20-minute mark, but it's probably the worst in the first 10 minutes. I've seen this a bunch of times, so it didn't bother me. I'm used to it. Him crushing his cup the whole time he's talking to Ramona Flowers is really, really funny. And one of my favorite jokes is whenever he asks if that guy's seen a girl with hair like this, and he just scribbles on the paper, and he's like, oh yeah, that's Ramona. The delivery of all of Michael Cera's lines is perfect. He cheats on Knives, which is a high schooler, with Ramona, and Knives was never a good option, of course, but Wallace, his roommate, told him to dump her and he didn't listen. I love when he fights the 7 exes it's like a video game. There's like points that come up whenever he defeats them and everything. And the fighting is similar to the one him and Knives were playing at the arcade. The sitcom bit in this is really funny. And he finally breaks up with Knives after the first fight of Ramona's ex. They have dinner together, and the bread makes you fat line is one of our most quoted things. Garlic bread cannot simply exist around us. The fight scene with all of Lucas Lee's stunt doubles is really cool. I love when Julie is cussing at the coffee shop and it bleeps and there's a square over her mouth and he asks how she's doing that. I always like those little fourth wall breaks. Knives sees Scott with Ramona and of course crashes out, tries to get with one of Scott's friends. The way the lights flicker whenever she's in the bathroom with Ramona is so funny. I like the scene with a split screen shot of oh no, my notes. I somehow exited out of my notes. 150 because I'm a little blind ass bitch. Okay, I really love the split screenshot when ex-girlfriend's band is playing and like it's her, him, Ramona, and then her ex who is also in the band. That whole split screen, and it sets in that we know why Ramona knows this guy. Then he has to defeat him. They go to an after party, and then the girl ex shows up and they fight her. And then the next one is also a band they're up against. This Battle of Bands thing. This one has always felt a bit dragged out to me. And then whenever I was watching it, I was like, that was like not even that long. It just feels the weakest one to me. Ramona breaks up with Scott for Gideon. Scott goes to where Gideon is to fight him for Ramona. And then they find out Knives shows up though to fight Ramona, and then they find out that Scott cheated, and then he comes back and fights her himself this time. Knives and Scott team up to fight Gideon off. We see the really good video game effects here. It looks, since they're back, on the same side, the fighting scene is really close to like the arcade thing. Then like himself comes and he has to fight himself. That ends up not being a fight. They're fine. I will say that there were parts of this, as I was watching it this time, particularly, that felt a little bit long and drawn out. And I don't know if it's because I've seen it so many times or because like I kind of outgrew it. I don't know. Like I found myself wanting to like, okay, and then we gotta go to this one, and then we gotta go to this one. And I still, of course, I love this movie. This movie, I found it pretty late. I was 19, so end of 2015 is whenever I found this movie, and I was really going through something, so I watched it a lot. So this movie means a lot to me. Just as I was watching it for this, I was like, man, this doesn't hit as hard as I was expecting it to or hoping it would. Coming in at number 2 is Hot Fuzz 2007. I watched this for the first time for this, so like 2 months ago. I have watched it 4 times in those 2 months. The first day I watched it twice. This is the first one that I sat down to watch that was new to me, the new Edgar Wright movie. The way that this thing is shot has its own personality. I've always said that about Scott Pilgrim too. The editing is its own personality. But here, oh my God. This follows Nicholas Angel is a city cop that gets moved to be sergeant of a small and rural area, and murders start happening. It ends up being a group of killers for super petty reasons. There's really good action scenes in here. It ends on a really fun note, I thought. This was another one. At the beginning of this movie, I was like checking my playback speed because I thought I had it sped up on accident because you're just like bam, bam, bam. This wasn't a problem. This was just a note because of how fast we were talking. The jokes in this are really, really good and funny. The first one that got me was everyone and their moms is packing around here. It's like who? Farmers and their moms. Decaffeinated killed me. The transitions in this movie are some of the strongest I've seen. I already kind of explained going into this. I thought my top 3 are probably the 3 that I've already seen, but we'll see. No, I didn't think that it would end up feeling like Picking Children, because this and what is my number 1 were battling it out for a while in my 2 to 3 spot. And then I was like, I have to be honest with myself. This movie got me. His style of filming is just so great. I usually don't even like cop comedies, buddy cop stuff. And the way this movie is done made me care about this movie anyways. This was such a surprising movie to me. The developing friendship of Nicholas and Danny feels really genuine and heartwarming. Action scenes are amazing. The twists in this movie, not like major dramatic twists, of course, but like it kept me on my toes and I loved it, and I didn't expect to love it, and it had everything. I laughed, I gasped. There's murder. I really thought that Danny stabbed him. Then I remembered, oh yeah, it comes back. It's the ketchup trick. This was so, oh my God. Like I think it's because I went into this movie like, okay, we'll get this out of the way. And then I fell in love with it. Every joke in the beginning, it comes back later. And like the writing in this is so tight. It was really fun. I was picking up a lot of it at the end, but then on a second watch, there's so many things that come back at the end. It's actually only the one swan, and the farmers and their moms, a considerable amount of paperwork, Danny quoting Nicholas several times. One of the best things I've seen. I really didn't think that one of the new movies would break my top 5 of all time, because, like there's always a sense of nostalgia and everything in your favorite movies of all time. But this made its way up there. And if you know Edgar Wright movies, you know what this is. Coming in at number 1, I thought this is going to be number 2 or number 3. But number 1, Baby Drivers 2017. This was my second to last rewatch. And I sat down to watch it. As soon as this opening scene hit, I was like, crap, Scott Pilgrim might be in trouble, because, dear God, this movie follows a getaway driver for a guy who puts different teams of criminals together for robberies, like one of those no names type thing. We learn he's in debt of the guy who gets these together, and he wants to be done working for him. He's told that it's one more job until they're straight. And from the first minute of this movie, the way that the music lines up with the actions, the windshield wipers, the everything, this is one of my favorite, I think it actually might be like my favorite opening scene of any movie. And this one specifically, of course, like the music can also be heard by the character, because he's listening to the music in the car to, okay, whenever this hits, I do this. But it's like every single action lines up with something, and it's so great. The character matching his movements to the beat. The driving action is also really well directed, and we immediately are like, oh, this is why this guy is here for all the jobs. The 3-car swap under the overpass is really cool. Do I buy the fact that all of these red cars with sunroofs would be driving here at the same time? No, I don't. Do I care? No, it's amazing. The long shot no cuts of him getting coffee, man. The relationship between him and his foster dad is really, his foster dad does not approve of what he does, but he's taking care of him. And, he's telling him like, hey, one more, you're done, right? The mom tape in his room is yellow. It's just a really good way of like making sure that stood out. We see the love interest at the diner, and she is so cute, and she's singing a song at the diner just while she's working and stuff. And after he leaves, he goes and gets the record of the song that she's singing, Baby. And I did want to note something, because I noticed this time watching this movie. I don't know how many times I've seen it. It's not like a lot, but there's a scene where he is flipping through channels at home. The lines said on the TV while he's flipping through these channels quickly are all said by him later on in the movie. There was one that I recognized, and all of a sudden I was like, wait. And I backed up and I wrote all of them down. And then whenever they came back, I noted it. So the Little Rascals is on You Are So Beautiful. He says that to Deborah, the girl at the diner. And then there's another part. I don't know what movie this is from, but one of the lines said is, they grew up so freaking fast, don't they? When him and Doc's nephew are scoping out this post office later, he says that because the lady's like, oh, how old is he? And he's like, I don't know, 4. He's like 8. Like, oh, they grew up so freaking fast. You and I are a team. Nothing is more important than our friendship from Monsters, Inc. He says this to Doc. Later, Doc calls it out. That's also what made me think of this. But he asks JD, how's it working out for you from Fight Club? After he explains his neck tattoo said hate, but he had the E removed to say hat to be employable. There was one that it's not said, I don't think. I might have missed it, but it's not explicitly said. The line was, in the bull stands, bloodied but unrelenting, Gaston is running out of time. He's had his tries from horseback. Now he must try to end this on foot. After something happens in a little bit, he runs from the cops on foot. I don't know if that's a callback, but I think it is because, you know, he's been in a car being chased this whole time and now he decides to end it on foot. He gets his call for his final job and we are introduced to Bats, and he is played by Jamie Foxx. I spent a long time thinking I hated seeing Jamie Foxx in this movie because of his acting or something. No, he just does really good to where you cannot stand this man. He doesn't like Baby, but the job goes according to plan, kind of. They kill one of the workers of the armed truck company, and this throws Baby off his game, of course. They still make it out okay. The Mike Myers masks kill me every single time because they said Michael Myers masks. It's an Austin Powers mask. He's like, I said Mike Myers. This is Mike Myers. A Halloween mask. This is a Halloween mask. And so they're even in like the dark blue jumpsuits. So they're prepared to be Michael Myers with these Austin Powers masks. The transitions here are so great. Their chemistry, him and Deborah's chemistry is so cute. They go on a date and Doc pays for their dinner and then tells him he's not done. He just doesn't owe him money anymore and threatens him if he doesn't do the next job. Bats is back on this job along with the couple from the first job we saw like go down pretty much like fine. And the girl of the couple, her name is Darling. She wants her husband, Buddy, to kill Bats when the job is over. And Bats really is a loose cannon and keeps killing people that aren't like, they're not even like on the job yet. They're just supposed to be staying the night. And while they're going out for food and stuff, Bats is killing people. The gunshots have rhythm in the shoot-off scene. And like I think Baby's iPod is like, the ear thing fell out or something, but like Tequila is playing while they're like having the shoot off. So it's like a quiet track of a song that all the gunshots are matching up to. Incredible. Bats is hungry and of course makes Baby stop at the diner. Deborah can tell something's off though, and she does great at not letting in on that she knows him or anything. I hate that she has a name tag now. She didn't earlier. She had a Jonathan name tag, and now Bats knows her name. Baby tries to leave for a 2 a.m. road trip with her where they're just going to take off, but Buddy catches him, and Bats finds his recording of a conversation and doesn't believe that he uses it for like mixes and musical purposes. He thinks that he's, recording them and gonna snitch or whatever. They go to his house and take his tapes and find the one called Deborah. So now they know about the girl. They go to do the job at the post office and he kind of like warns Lady, just shakes his head a little bit like, please don't go in there. And Bats kills a security guy, and Baby doesn't like, of course, when Bats goes off the handle and freaking kills people. And there's these poles sticking out on the passenger side and Baby just gasses it, and an on-purpose Final Destination kill. These things just like go through him and take him out. Then that's when he takes off on foot, and the chase scene is also really well directed. And I love when he's like going through the shops, like getting his disguise and stuff. Darling gets shot by the cops because she comes out with like just shooting at him. So she's gonna get shot at. So she gets shot and killed. But of course, her husband blames Baby for this. Baby shoots him. He's fine though. And Baby goes back to the warehouse with Deborah to get his tapes. Buddy shows up to a parking garage in a cop car. They push the cop car out, like off of the thing, because they're like several stories up in a parking garage. He pushes him out with a different car and it falls, but Buddy got out and is going to shoot Deborah. She gets a crowbar and then Baby shoots him, and this man finally freaking dies. He wakes up and Deborah is driving and listening to the tape of his mom. There are police waiting for them. So she's just going to keep gassing it, and Baby stops the car, takes the keys out, and tells her she doesn't belong in this world and surrenders himself. I love that he doesn't just get to drive off into the sunset and does have to face consequences, even though, I mean, he didn't want this, but he still did it. And I think that actually makes this movie, like, it sucks, of course, but his good behavior gets him out in 5 years. Deborah waited for him the 5 years, and they are together at the end. This movie is perfect. Just the direction, the action scenes, everything about this movie is so brilliantly done. I thought it was gonna be number 2. And then the impressiveness of he wrote this, directed it, everything. This is an original thing that is his, and for it to go this well, it's just mind-blowing. And so it has to be number 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. I should be back, not 3 months later this time. It's been a mess, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Bye.